I imagine at one time you were this brilliant little child. As we enter into adulthood, what was brilliant in childhood can actually get in the way of you living the life you want to live. Hello, friends. I'm Nancy Houston. I want to help you live a better life. We're all emotional creatures who sometimes think. And so it's so important that we make this journey from our heads into the depths of our hearts. Welcome to the In-Between with Nancy Houston. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is so good to be with you today. I've been thinking about this thought, and the thought is, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. In other words, we see life through our lens, through our perspective, through our worldview. And honestly, for all of us, that can be a really limited view of life and how we do life and how we react to things and how we do our relationships. So basically what's happened to us in life is we were created perfectly, and then we come into this world and we come into our families and we come into these systems, and oftentimes that's where in some ways we kind of get messed up, right? I know I did. I was born into a very broken family. They didn't look broken on the outside. On the outside, they look like they had it all together. But on the inside, it was oftentimes a very dark mess. And you know what? That's true in some ways for all of us. Now, some of you had great families growing up, and I'm so happy you did. And like for my sons, I hope that was their experience. But yet, just being humans, I know that it wasn't perfect for them. I know that we all enter into what was meant to be a world of paradise, but because of the fall, we've all been affected by sin, by brokenness, by other people's greed and selfishness. So what happens to us is oftentimes we're sinned upon by when we're vulnerable children. And then so others sin upon us. And then we, as we age, we start creating our own sin, don't we? I know I did, for sure. You know, you get to those teen years and you're like, no, I want to do what I want to do. And I definitely did that. And so that's why we've named this show The In-Between. And it isn't a show, this is a community. That's why we've named it The In-Between, because really what happens to us is we're created perfectly. Like scripture says, you are God's poetry, which means, poetry is, the writer of poetry is expressing some deep emotions. And typically they're trying to express beauty and pain and love and emotions. It's all wrapped up in emotions. So when God says we're his poetry, he's saying that I have such deep feelings for you. And so I've given it all for you, right? Like I gave my son to take care of all of the human problems. But it's still working out for all of us, right? And so many people think, well, I've had a deep spiritual experience and that's all I need. That's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I'm here to say, no, that's the beginning. And then there's this in-between that we all live in. And the in-between is about being recreated, because we all need to be recreated. So we're created, and then we need to kind of be uncreated in some ways, because we've learned all these ways of being from our dysfunctional families. My husband and I, we loved our kids, and we wanted to do right by them, but we had our own dysfunctions, We're still working some of those things out. There's no magic wand. We've got to work this stuff out. And y'all, it's hard work. Yesterday, I wrapped up one of my leadership groups for the year. We'll start again in April. But we just sat and celebrated the hard work that everybody had done this year in the group. Because when you are working on a growth plan, when you're entering into the adult development process, it can be a gut-wrenching experience because we are unlearning some of the ways that we do life. We're learning how to become less reactive and more responsive. You know, that's one of the greatest things you can do for yourself is to learn how to be less reactive and become more mature and become responsive. So, you guys, I just want to encourage you today, wherever you're at, whether it's a bad day, a sad day, a great day, a happy day, that there's work for all of us to be engaging in. And the way God kind of intended it for all of us is that there's meant to be seasons of growth where we're doing hard work and we're uncertain about what the heck we're doing. It's kind of like being on a trapeze where, you know, you've got a grip on how you do things, and then suddenly it's not working. And there's another trapeze that somebody's letting go and flying out towards you, but in between, you got to let go. And it is scary, and it feels terrifying, and it is risky, but it's the only way you're going to do the growth work you need to do. So yes, Hector.
I just want to say I'm so proud of you.
Oh, you are?
For real. Like
thanks.
if me and the community that God's allowing us to build and steward,
Yeah.
if we could just say something,
Yeah.
is that we are really grateful that you're giving us the cheat codes to life. That's what I call it.
Oh, I like
I
that.
would say they are cheat codes to life.
Yeah.
Because we are spoiled with this information, right? There's people that pay thousands on thousands that can afford life coaching, leadership development, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you have given like a top of funnel free experience. Obviously, you're still a life coach. We're building a whole business.
Yeah.
But this YouTube content is blessing so many people.
I want it to. Honestly, at my age, I just want to turn around and give what's so graciously been given to me. And I just want to like, hey world, here it is. And it doesn't matter if you can't afford all the great things that, you know, but that here it is for free for all of us. And so, you know, entering into a growth process is scary, and it's the greatest thing you will ever do. So we're meant to grow. I mean, we are meant to grow. That is what we are meant to do. I mean, like God doesn't plant something in the ground and say, okay, that's good. It's like, no, if that seed doesn't come up, then it hasn't done what it was designed to do. And so we have seasons of growth, and then we have seasons of comfort where we do all this hard work, and then we kind of get to sit back for a little bit and go, whew, I did the work. So yesterday with my group, we just celebrated, like, I want you to reflect on this last year. I want you to look at all the hard work you've done. And today I want us to celebrate what's happened in you. And it was amazing because some of them were like, oh my gosh, I think I'm finally ready to learn how to attach. You know, attachment can be terrifying for so many people. And so we just screw up our relationships because we're so afraid of true intimacy. We just push others away, even though we don't do it consciously. It's subconscious. And so, you know, we're working through attachment issues. Another person is like, hey, I think I'm ready to start setting boundaries with my family. Man, their family could just take them down and eat them up and chew them up and spit them out. You know, not all the time, just when they get triggered. You know, another one was like, I think I'm finally learning how to be kinder to myself. And like, you know, that's huge. We can love others when we don't love ourselves. I don't believe that's not. You know, a lot of times we hear, well, you can't ever love anybody else if you can't love yourself. I'm like, you know, it's all a big, messy process. You can love somebody else and not know how to love you. Or maybe you can love yourself, but you suck at loving other people. And it's just this continual growth process. Like, wouldn't it be great someday where we wake up and we're actually like, oh my gosh, I love me and I love you. Wow. But that's a journey, people. I wish I had a magic wand. I'd wave it over all of us and we wouldn't have to live in the in-between. Because the in-between can be scary and it can be gut-wrenching and it can be a bloodbath. It's not simple. It's not lovely. We're letting go of our old ways of doing life that don't work. And we don't yet know what is going to work. So it is a walk by faith, you know? And then someday, like my group yesterday, they're like, oh my gosh, this actually worked. You know, and I told them, I can't describe to people the work I do. I really can't find the words for it and write it all out nicely on a piece of paper. And here's what I do. And it's like, no, I'm just inviting people to, hey, are you courageous enough to enter in the in-between? And then we'll see what needs to happen in the in-between. And there's part of you that's going to need to die. Because you, me, we all have ways that are so unhealthy. But we don't know it. Because we see the world how we are. Right? So we can have our prejudices and not know it. We can have our hatred and not know it. We can have our rage and not know it. So part of the in-between is actually like one of the people in my group said yesterday, like, I think I'm finally in touch with how angry I am. And it's okay for me to now give it a voice. It's never been okay for her to give it a voice. She's supposed to be nice and good and just shut up and do the right thing and suck it up. And she's finally like, I think I'm angry. And we all were like, yes, this is huge. It's amazing. You're angry and you can admit it. That's tremendous growth. And that's been a process. So, I just want to invite us all. Join this growth process and then be kind to yourself and stop asking yourself, what is wrong with me? Stop it. Why do I feel this way? Stop it. Why can't I get it together? Stop it. None of that is helping you.
Right.
That is actually your contempt for you. And it's time to stop being contemptuous towards yourself. Listen, there's nothing wrong with you. You're okay. You're enough. You're all right. You're accepted. You're worthy. You are worthy of having healthy self-esteem, which really healthy self-esteem is when you stop trying to prove yourself. When you lay down your competitive nature and start having some compassion. Start having some compassion for you. Scripture says that the Father is compassionate towards you, so you be compassionate towards you. And when you're compassionate towards you, then you can actually start having a few ounces of compassion for others.
Right.
But when you are totally uncompassionate towards yourself, full of self-contempt, full of judgments, then eventually that's what comes out of us. Right. And we don't want it to. We don't mean for it to be, but it's our inner world becomes our outer world. Yeah. And so the more compassion we can have towards ourselves and like, hey, wherever you're at today, that's a good place for you to be. That's a good place for you to be. If you're angry, admit it. Give your anger a platform. Otherwise, it is going to come out of you sideways. My friend said, I've just been so frustrated. I'm like, well, what if you gave your anger a platform? I don't mean an evil, dark, dangerous platform like, okay, I'm going to go kill somebody. I'm not talking about that. Yeah. I'm like, give it a platform by giving it a voice. Learn how, instead of acting out, start using your voice to say, I'm angry, or I'm filled with rage. And instead of judging that, you learn how to go, oh, okay. Well, what needs to happen for me to get my anger and rage up and out in healthy ways? I think this is why the world can like violent porn, because it's watching somebody act out your anger and your rage, your contempt, some of your hatred, instead of owning. Oh my gosh, I have contempt for women. Oh my gosh, I have contempt for men. Oh my gosh, I have contempt for my own body. Oh my gosh, I have contempt for other people's body. Oh my gosh, I have contempt for my sexuality. Oh, I have contempt for other people's sexuality. You know, what if we stopped acting out and started looking inward and admitting, there's some darkness here, right?
Could you explain what contempt is?
Yeah, contempt is really oftentimes self-hatred. I think it can be other hatred. Like when I have contempt for you, that means I have no regard for you. When I have contempt for myself, it means I am filled with self-loathing and self-hatred, and I'm fine with hurting myself. Ooh. And you guys, we live in a world of contempt for self and others, for God. We can live in a world full of contempt towards those that have hurt us. I hate you, and that is how I'm going to get even with you. We think contempt will serve us, and that's why we have so much of us, where our contempt serves nobody and nothing. It poisons me, it'll poison you, right? If, say, somebody like, if you've experienced even abuse or trauma, we can think the solution is, I'm going to have contempt for you. But it's like we're poisoning our own well, hoping it's actually going to poison you, not me. But it ends up poisoning me. And this is where we've got to get our grief and our sadness and our hatred and our desire for revenge and our desire to compete with each other. I'm going to compete with you and I'll prove that I'm better than you. That's a shame move. Shame says I'm less than or I'm better than. Shame goes up, I'm better than, and then we feel no pain for our behavior. The only pain in those kind of relationships is the pain we crave for everybody else, because we're ignorant to how much pain we're creating, because we think we're better than. We look down our nose. We think we're entitled. We feel like, laws don't apply to me, right? Or I don't have to watch what I say. I can say and do whatever the heck I want to do. That is where shame has gone to a place of grandiosity, and we think we're better than. I don't have to be corrected. I don't have to listen to anybody. I can do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, how I want. That's shame that's gone to grandiosity. And that's when we need to give ourselves a hand down and go, actually, I'm not feeling the pain I'm creating, but others are telling me, hey, that's painful. How you treat me is painful. That is hurtful. Or we go low. We go one down and we think everybody's better than me. Everybody's smarter than me. Everybody can get everything figured out. What's wrong with me? Why am I so stupid? Why am I slow? Why am I such a loser? Man, I'm just lucky to have somebody love me. That's where we can really get into those love dependencies, because then we let others define us. You get to tell me who I am. It's like, no, nobody else can define you. Because then we're like a yo-yo. One minute they love you, the next minute they don't. So emotionally you are just up, you're down, you're in between. You get into relationships that are so freaking unhealthy because, you You're endangered to narcissists. You're endangered to other people's grandiosity because they'll use you to feel better. And they'll tell you how wonderful you are and how beautiful you are and how sexy you are, how smart you are, as long as it's serving them. And then when it stops serving them, then they'll tell you you're nothing. You know, and you're back to feeling terrible about yourself. And so that's why healthy self-esteem. Well, let me read this to you guys. Can I just read this? I wrote this out the other day. Self-esteem is your capacity to recognize your worth and value despite your human flaws and weaknesses. Because let's admit it, we all have human flaws and weaknesses. I am limited. You are limited. Congratulations to being human. Right? Let's stop trying to be extra human. None of us are. None of us are superstars. None of us are superheroes. You know, and we can think, you know, one of my members said, I was raised in a family where I was a zero. And now sometimes I want to be the hero. I'm like, let's not do either one of those. You're not a zero. You're not a hero. You're a freaking human. And that's it. Welcome to humanity. We are flawed, and we have weaknesses, and we are limited. Your value as a person isn't earned. It isn't conditional. It can't be added to or subtracted from. Your essential worth is neither greater nor lesser than that of any other human being. It can't be. Self-esteem is about being, not doing. You have worth simply because you're alive and simply because God says you are his poetry. You are his created poetry. It's who you are. And when we accept that, then our self-esteem and our value is coming from here, not from Hector telling me who I am or who I'm not, right? Not from my husband telling me who I am or who I'm not. Because that's fickle. Y'all, we're all fickle. And how we feel about each other can be based on how I'm doing that day. And if I'm not doing good, I can help you not feel good. If I'm doing great, I can help you feel great. Do you see how dangerous? Then we're also vulnerable to each other's, our own moods and each other's moods. Where if we can start working on, no, I'm going to build a solid self that starts here. You don't get to define me. Right? You don't get to define me. My past doesn't define me. So sometimes in the in-between, we start developing this capacity to grieve the past so we can let go of it and so we can take hold of our new creation. Right? And then the Christ within us starts defining us on who he says we are. And we can actually join him and receive it. Any of that making resonating? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we do have questions from the community if you want to hit them.
Awesome. Let's hit them. Let's do it.
So listen, obviously you do leadership, you do a lot of stuff, but these people, it's all relationship questions right now.
You know what? I think that's at the core of who we are meant to be. We are relational creatures by God's design. And so honestly, I think good leadership, I think health, I think growth all comes from relationships. So thank you for asking me relationship questions, my favorite topic.
So this one's from Veronica. It says, hello, I wanted to know how to navigate from a divorce of 20 years of marriage. I don't feel seen and felt I had to shrink myself. Now my ex is tainting our kids, which my son is 22, and then twin girls that are 21. Mostly the girls are feeding into their father, destroying my character and accusing me of cheating, and I never did.
Veronica, thank you for being so vulnerable. Oh, that just sounds painful, and I'm just hurting with you. that is really hard. And so this is going to be a rebuilding project for you. You are on the cusp of figuring out who Veronica is. Instead of shrinking, I want you to think about start growing you. Your children don't define you. Your ex does not define you. You are now at the age and the stage where you get to start figuring out who is Veronica. So welcome to this grand adventure of discovering you. You know, oftentimes we women, we don't start discovering who we are until we get into our 40s, you know, because we've been busy. We've been having babies maybe, or finding love and establishing a nest of some sort or a career. But, you know, a woman's busy. And then she wakes up in her mid-40s and says, who am I? And what do I want to do with my future? I remember doing that. And man, it was like this wrestling match because I didn't know. And it's hard to wrestle with the unknown. It's like you're wrestling kind of like with, I don't know, maybe some ghosts and maybe some angels. I don't know. We're wrestling, you know, with ourselves. And so I want to encourage you, like, start doing the hard work. Don't let your children and your ex, sure, he's going to see if he can get them to align with him. We love our triangles where we triangulate people into our unhealthy ways of doing life. But what I want to say to you is get some really good friends around you who are for you, but they don't need to sit around and gossip about what a jerk he is. It's not going to help you. Or feel sorry for you for how horrible your children are being. That's not going to help you. You've got to grieve what's happened, and grief is different than self-pity. Grief is where we feel the sadness of the family you spent building for the last 20 years is now falling apart. And Veronica, I'm so sorry. And that's deeply grievous. And I'm sorry you did not feel heard. I'm sorry you did not feel seen. And now you're at this cusp where now you get to decide that you're going to start learning how to listen to you. You are going to start seeing you. You are going to start valuing you. And you are going to start building your own self-esteem based on the fact that you have value just because you are a human made in the image and likeness of God. And from that solid foundation, you're going to become this awesome, empowered, beautiful female. So I just want you to know I'm in your corner. I'm for you. I'm with you. It's a journey that all of us women need to go on. And so be brave and courageous and get yourself going on that road.
That's so good, Nancy. And I will say I will be praying for Veronica. Our team will be praying for Veronica.
Yes.
Because that is definitely hard to navigate.
That's right.
I was hearing you speak, and the Holy Spirit kept showing me this scene. So I've been watching the Twilight movies this week.
Oh, yeah.
And he showed me this scene that I watched yesterday where, so there's this wolf pack, and one of them is a woman named Leah, and the leader of the pack, his name is Sam, and Leah and Sam were a thing. But Sam imprinted on another woman. Basically, he was meant to be with someone else.
Wow.
And then Leah had to obviously stick around in the pack and deal with all that pain of, like, I can't have what I want.
Yeah.
And so as you were talking, I just really felt like the Holy Spirit, you're already dropping so many nuggets. And I feel like what you're saying is hitting a specific woman that's dealt with the same thing as Leah. So I wanted to ask you if you can go a little deeper into practical ways for people how to deal with breakups and how to deal with like not having someone you wanted or someone you thought you were going to end up with.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're brave enough to love somebody, congratulations. Love is risky. Love is risky. And so we can make one of two choices. I'm going to be walled off. I'm never going to risk love. And you're going to be lonely and miss out on so much beautiful color in your life. So, there's risks there. And then we all suffer some wounds of rejection, right? Somebody somewhere is going to reject you. And it's going to happen to all of us. And rejection is painful. And so we've got a couple of ways we can go. When we suffer from rejection, we can attempt to become people pleasers and love dependents and codependence. And I need you to feel good about me. Your rejection has caused me to feel really crappy about myself. Or we can fight the battle and go, you know what? He rejected me, she rejected me, but I am still going to accept me. Acceptance is the solution for rejection. So if you were like this woman in this pack and you've been rejected, I am telling you, it's going to be so important for you to give yourself some self-acceptance. Say to that girl in you or that young woman in you that's been rejected, like, hey, I still accept you. Just because he decided not to love you anymore or not to choose you doesn't mean you are not lovable and acceptable. He has the freedom to make that choice. He has the freedom to walk away from you. We can't squeeze the life out of somebody hoping they're going to love us. Love is, if there's not freedom and love, there's not love. We've got to hold each other like this. Hey, babe, you've got the freedom to choose me, or you can choose somebody else. That's your freedom, right? Marriage isn't meant to be a prison. Marriage is meant to be, I wake up every day and I still choose you. I choose you. I may not like you today. I may not have a lot of loving feelings today. But end of the day, you are still the man I love and still the one I choose. We all have the freedom to do that or not do that. Right? Now, do I believe the marriage contracts holds us in place when we're flip-flopping? Absolutely. But man, we're all vulnerable to being rejected. And that's why we've got to build this solid foundation of I accept me. That'll protect you.
All right, we have another one that came in through Instagram. This one is from, and it's anonymous. I'm 30. I saved myself for marriage and just got married, and I realized the sexual trauma I endured as a child. I'm in therapy, but I feel so overwhelmed. I am just so scared. Do you have any steps that I can share with my husband to help slowly building that safety within our relationship, not only sexually, but also emotional?
Hey, thank you for being so vulnerable. And I can just completely identify with you because my sexual trauma came up and emerged when I was around 30. I think that's very common. But here's a couple of things I think that I might be noticing about you that I want you to pause and notice. Number one, getting married to this man has helped you feel safe enough for your trauma to come up and out. You did not feel safe enough before that to let your trauma come up. And now you've got this man and you've got this relationship. And so your sexual trauma has emerged. That's not bad. It tells me that there's something about being in this marriage that helps you feel safe. So I want you to pause and just feel the safety of that, okay? That's a good thing. Second of all, now you have permission to be sexual. And so, of course, it's going to bring up your sexual history. I'm so proud of you for being in therapy. Good for you. And I know it's scary to let your sexual trauma come up and out because you were taught to keep it secret and stuff it all down, not tell anybody, not let it out. But you were taught to go to the grave with this horrible, dark secret. But that is not what you were meant for. God reveals to heal. So even though it's so scary, you are on a healing journey. Now, the other thing I want you to do for you is I want you to learn how to ground yourself. And what I mean by that is I want you to learn how to take that little girl who was sexually traumatized and look her in the eyes, maybe hold her hands or put her on your lap if you can, and say to her, sweet girl, none of that was your fault. None of that was your fault. You did nothing wrong. You did nothing bad. So, and let me just pause right here and explain that when our bodies receive sexual stimuli, our bodies will respond to sexual stimuli. It doesn't mean that you're bad or dirty or a little pervert or something's wrong with you. It just means our bodies have like an electrical system. It's got all these wires, and when it's plugged in, the electrical system comes on and lights up our house, and we're grateful for it. Well, you have a sexual system, and when it's plugged in, it turns on. It just means everything's working. So even if something sexual happens to us that feels wrong, our bodies will still respond. Okay? So we just got to understand our basic wiring. God wired us as sexual creatures. It's not bad, it's not good, it just is. It's like you have a nervous system. It's not bad, it's not good, it just is. You have an emotional system. It's not bad, it's not good, it just is. Okay? So we've got to kind of accept ourselves and that we're sexual creatures. We just are. Okay? So I wanted to pause there and just educate us a little bit, right? Because sometimes we think, oh my gosh, this creepy person touched me, and it's confusing. It felt wrong, it felt bad, and to my body, it felt good. You're normal. You're completely normal. So I want you to look this little girl in the face and say, I love you. There's nothing wrong with you, honey. You are not bad. You are not shameful. I'm sorry this happened to you. So would you learn how to be kind to you and contain you? Because that will help you when you start feeling overwhelmed and you're not grounded and this is too much. It's because that little girl needs you, the wise adult, to take her in your arms and say, honey, you're okay. We're going to get through this. And you're brave and courageous, and I'm with you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm here for you, and you are going to be okay. Then one other thing I want to say to you is we've got to sort through our sexual history. This was bad. Like I experienced sexual trauma from my own father. That's bad. Making love with my husband is amazing and beautiful and sweet and good. I was raped by a youth pastor. That's bad. That's horrible. That's evil. That's traumatizing. Making love with my husband is sweet and good and right and meant to be. So got to sort through what's good and what's bad. And we can't lump it all into the same basket, right? Which is what we do. We can put all of our sexuality into this basket of shame, of trauma, of bad, of it's the only way to experience our sexuality is through acting out in some ways that aren't good for you. We've got to sort all that out so that we can become healthy sexually and enjoy this beautiful gift. Sex is actually a gift. I know I hate it that people do evil with it when it's meant to be this sweet, bonding, unifying, connecting, attaching thing that happens between a husband and his wife. So sort through it, learn how to love yourself and hold on to that little girl. She's had enough trauma. Please be kind to her. Please be gentle to her. Please don't have contempt towards her. She did nothing wrong. Feel your anger and hatred towards the person who did wrong to you. Right? Don't put it on that little kid. So, anything else you guys can think of that?
No, that was great. It's time for the next podcast though.
Oh,
So you can wrap it up and
wow.
tell everyone you love them.
Yeah. I do love y'all. I really, truly, truly do. And I truly want you to live a better life. And we all need help because, again, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. And so the more work we do on this, the more our worldview can open up. And we can open up our lives to what's good and pure and beautiful and lovely and delightful. And then you actually can start living a better life. And that's what I want for each one of you. So I love you. I'm for you. I'm with you. And I just pray that today you will be kind to you. And the kinder you are to you and the more compassion you have for yourself, the more compassion you can have for others. So let's make this a better life and a better world for all of us.